Bienvenue à EUniWell.
Välkommen till EUniWell.
Willkommen bei EUniWell.
Welcome to EUniWell.
Üdvözlünk a EUniWellben.
Benvenuto a EUniWell. Welcome by EUniWell.
Welcome to the European University for Wellbeing, a European University Alliance.
An einer europäischen Hochschulallianz beteiligt zu sein, bedeutet, an vorderster Stelle bei der Umsetzung der Vision einer neuen und innovativen europäischen Hochschulbildungslandschaft mitzuwirken.
European University Alliances provide exciting opportunities for students like me to study and travel across campuses and cultures and shape our own learning journeys.
Az Európai Egyetemi Szövetség támogatni fogja a szorosabb kutatási és oktatási együttműködéseket, reagálva a 21. század egyik legnagyobb kihívására.
EUniWell knyter samman 7 stycken universitet och 250 000 studenter tillsammans med 36 000 lärare, forskare och annan personal.
EUniWell pakt uitdagingen op het gebied van welzijn aan vanuit 4 interdisciplinaire onderzoeksgebieden die zijn afgestemd op de Sustainable Development Goals van de Verenigde Naties. De 4 onderzoeksgebieden zijn gezondheid, individueel en sociaal welzijn, leefomgeving en klimaat en lerarenopleidingen en docentprofessionalisering.
Notre mission est de renforcer la recherche, l'éducation et la formation pour faire émerger un changement significatif et durable pour le bien-être de nos étudiants, de notre personnel, de nos institutions et de nos sociétés.
I valori di EUniWell sono la democrazia, l'inclusività, la diversità. EUniWell si basa su ricerca e risposte alle sfide in un contesto transdisciplinare strettamente connesso col mondo del lavoro e di creatività congiunta. Gli studenti sono al centro di tutto ciò che facciamo.
We will work with our broad base of over 100 associate partners to deliver a measurable impact on regional well-being and ensure we are not just located in our cities and regions, but are part of them.
Wir hoffen, dass wir durch EUniWell an einer wahrhaft europäischen Lernerfahrung teilhaben werden, in der wir unsere Zeit an der Universität dazu nutzen, um gemeinschaftlich über kulturelle, Sprach- und Ländergrenzen hinweg an der Lösung einiger der drängendsten globalen Herausforderungen zu arbeiten.
Our hope for EUniWell is to provide the skills, knowledge and values to empower the European citizens of the future to advance well-being across our regions.
We are delighted to officially launch the European University for Wellbeing.
Thank you. And good morning, everyone, and welcome to this panel discussion with the Steering Committee for EUniWell. Today, I am moderating this panel together with Judith, and Judith is the Chief Student Officer from Cologne, and she has a bachelor's degree in international relations.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Judith, and I'm moderating it together with Rebecca, who you just heard. She's the member of the executive board from EUniWell. She holds a bachelor's degree in international social science, and she is the president of the student union in her university, Linnaeus.
Welcome also to all staff and students joining us from across Europe this morning for the official launch of EUniWell, the European University for Wellbeing.
EUniWell is a new European University Alliance funded through Erasmus+, with the core mission to deliver a meaningful change to the well-being of our institutions, staff, students, and society. Our alliance features 7 different universities: Birmingham, Florence, Cologne, Leiden, Linnaeus, Nantes, and Semmelweis.
Students are at the heart of the EUniWell Alliance, and they play a critical role in shaping our direction and activities. The EUniWell Student Board represents the interests of the student at our partner universities, and you can learn more about the activities of the Student Board in the session immediately after this one.
In this opening discussion, we are delighted to welcome members of the EUniWell Steering Committee, which has led to the strategic development of our alliance and will be responsible for guiding EUniWell's vision and mission over the coming years.
Now we will invite the steering committee to introduce themselves.
Hello and good morning. My name is Beatrix Busser. I'm Vice Rector for Teaching and Studies at Cologne University with lead of EUniWell, and I'm a professor of English linguistics.
Hello, I'm Giorgia Giovannetti. I'm Vice Rector for International Relations at the University of Florence in Italy, and I'm a professor of economics.
Hester, please. Oh, nope, I don't think Hester is here. Robin, then you're up next.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Pleasure to be here with you. My name is Professor Robin Mason. I'm Pro-Vice Chancellor International at the University of Birmingham in the UK, and I'm another Professor of Economics.
Hi, I'm Professor Isabelle Richard, and I'm Vice Rector for European and International Affairs at the University of Nantes.
My name is Angela Larsson. I am the Vice Rector of Linnaeus University with responsibility for internationalization, innovation, and collaboration. And I am a chemical engineer and a professor of bioenergy technology.
Hello, my name is Miklos Karameyer. I'm the Dean of the Faculty of Medicine at Semmelweis University in Budapest, and I'm also a professor of biophysics.
Thank you. So before we start with our questions to you, we would like to make sure that everyone is aware that we have a Q&A session afterwards. And if you have any questions, just make sure you write them in. And if you want to ask them to a specific person, just write down their names as well. And I see that Hester is back in the chat. So maybe Hester, you want to introduce yourself as well.
Yes. Hi. Yes, sorry, I had some connection problems. Hi, I'm Hester Bijl. I'm a member of the Executive Board of Leiden University and Vice Rector.
Thank you. So now we will move on to the questions. And the first question is for Beatrix. What is the EUN initiative and why did EUniWell choose well-being as the unifying concept behind the alliance?
Yes, very good questions. Thank you for those. I think the European University Initiative is an initiative to bring together a new generation of what is said creative Europeans able to cooperate across languages, borders, to address the societal challenges and what they call skills shortages as well, so that we form strategic partnerships in that sense among universities to address some of these challenges. And I think in 2017, this received new additional force, especially through Macron's speech at Sorbonne University to found these European universities. Now, why did we choose that topic, a very big topic, highly holistic in the sense as we understand it? So various ways led to that, because we had, first of all, of course, bottom-up processes. We invited as many students, as many researchers, administrative personnel to come up with very good ideas and what was really at their heart, what they wanted to deal with, what are the most pressing challenges, as you said, Judith, in the film, that we have to encounter. What is it that we'd like to change? So that was one where well-being suddenly came up. So how do we improve our situation? How do we transform the universities for the future and to address those societal challenges? Another way was we also looked at what we are actually publishing, in which areas we have strength, together, where we can team up, where do we find synergies? And as was also seen in the film, they were related to the sustainable development goals, such as especially those on health and well-being. We had a focus on cities, on the environment, which led to the arenas, which I'm sure Hester will be talking about in a minute. So that was the idea behind it, and we came up with this huge mission of together we'll help create a world in which individual, societal, environmental well-being are in synergy, in which we flourish and prosper together. And with that, we also reacted to the EU, the Council of Europe's mission, or underlining that well-being is a principal aim of the European Union. So in that respect, if you like, 3 ways of how we address this. And for us, well-being is holistic, it's multidimensional, for cutting-edge research, education and training, intergenerational. We like to include everybody, especially you, the students, internal well-being for each student and member of staff, to break down boundaries so that we trigger real change. And with that, I'd say that well-being is our overarching agenda, our research agenda. Our research question is also the structuring principle, the concept we rely on, the goal, the educational agenda. So really ambitious, but I guess that's what we have to be. Thank you.
Thank you a lot, Beatrix. Georgia, next question goes to you. We talked a lot about well-being, and we were wondering what the Alliance vision for delivering a EUniWell university education is. And we were wondering how the specific focus on well-being will translate into the general curriculum design and transformation student learning journeys.
Thank you, Judith. This is a very difficult question to answer, but basically we are convinced that our first responsibility is to form the next generation of students, of citizens that are able to solve global challenges, as Beatrix said, while improving societal well-being. And to form the new generation and provide them with the appropriate skills, we have to focus on education. So education is really at the core. Education triggers equal opportunities, and we believe that without social equity and without equal opportunities, well-being cannot be reached. And this is why education is really at the core of our project. However, we are aware of the fact that teaching should be used to channel research. We are all research universities, so we are trying to disseminate and transfer the research through our teaching. We cannot separate research and teaching. We need to strengthen our human capital by providing a multidisciplinary and transversal skill and allow each student to create his or her own learning path. Our 7 universities have already a lot in common. We have already 167 double or joint degrees, but all of these are bilateral cooperation agreements, and not necessarily they are focused on issues related to well-being or sustainable development goals. So what we are going to do is we are going to better integrate our curricula and transform our courses into a real interconnected network. How are we going to do that? That's the second part of your question to a certain extent. Well, we need to make mobility, both physical and virtual mobility, more meaningful for students in terms of education and employment prospects. This can be done by working on educational structure, ensuring that we have a clear and well-integrated mobility windows within all the degree programs, enabling students to move seamlessly between our institutions. A very key aspect of our education pillar, I think, is the diversification of tertiary training opportunities, because we wanted to offer the possibility of having multiple and flexible pathways. We are thinking of nano degrees, transdisciplinary modular teaching, micro-credential, different forms, innovative forms in order to achieve what we want. This has a very big advantage. It can increase the attractiveness of university education, even for those who come from secondary vocational training and technical training. So basically, we are trying to broaden the audience the university is targeting. But we are also targeting those who can re-enter training. For instance, we can do continuing education. It's also very important, as I already mentioned, the creation of training situations that allow the personalization of path by paying particular attention to the need and expectation of students. This will allow us to increase retention levels and decrease abandonment, which is unluckily is a very, very high problem all throughout Europe. In Italy, is actually a big problem, people that leave university before getting a degree. And what we need is to have some guidance service, common guidance service in a perspective of continuous guidance from secondary education to placement. So these issues are central for us, since a European university has to provide equal opportunities for all, and because well-being is connected to social equity. So in summary, we need some innovative challenge-based curricula across all the 3 cycles. So from the BA to the master to the PhD level. We need that students can charter their own learning projects, but we are also very much engaged through our work packages with the entrepreneurial and societal engagement. And we need a lot of innovative mobility, especially in the time of COVID, because the COVID-19 has challenged the physical mobility we were used to. I think I answered your question. I hope so, at least.
Yes, thank you very much. Next question is for Hester. And how will EUniWell empower cutting-edge research to advance well-being? And how will this relate to education and the role of the students?
Thank you, Rebecca, for this question. Yes, I think EUniWell will empower cutting-edge research to advance well-being of people, societies, and our planet. So we're quite ambitious. And we do that by establishing 4 research arenas that will boost inter- and transdisciplinary research collaboration through the implementation of actually a new approach to research design that is inclusive, diverse, and based on co-creation. And the 4 research arenas were also mentioned in the introductory movie. These are number 1, well-being and health. Then secondly, individual and social well-being. Thirdly, environment, urbanity, and well-being. And 4th, because of course our next generation is also crucial, teacher education and professionalization of our own teachers. And as Beatrice already said, these 4 research arenas are closely aligned to a number of UN Sustainable Development Goals. SDG 3, good health and well-being. Then number 4, quality education. Number 11, sustainable cities and communities, but also peace, justice, and strong institutions, because you need that to really empower well-being across Europe and the globe. And then finally, 2 transversal SDGs on gender equality and reduced inequality. Yeah, and then you mentioned how we do that internally, because of course we would like to advance well-being of people, societies, and our planet, but also well-being of our staff and students. And a specific group we focus on is early career researchers. That's a group that's quite vulnerable in the competitive academic climate. And we hope to develop through EUniWell more possibilities for them to find jobs across the network, or internships at partner universities and associate partners. We have a huge number of associate partners that can help us there. And we aim to also improve their well-being of the junior researchers by offering support, creating a community across our universities for these early career researchers, and invest in their development. And of course, by providing them with new possibilities for joint research across the 4 research arenas. And then finally, you asked how we would like to also join up with students. Well, they will have a central role in participating in this new approach to research design in the arenas and to education delivery. The students will be involved in the research arenas as well, to reflect together with senior academics and our associate partners on key questions in relation to research and research design, and how to truly deliver impact. And the student-centered approach in the co-design of our programs across research and education, as Georgia said, will empower our students to engage with shaping education delivery, but also shaping their own future. They will become part of the process.
Thank you, Hester. That was really interesting, especially the focus on the students. Robin, the next question is for you. EUniWell's vision is to deliver a meaningful and sustainable change to the well-being of our societies. How will the Alliance use its collective strength in research and education to achieve this?
Julia, thanks for that question. You're right. We've set ourselves this hugely ambitious aim to advance social well-being, and I thought it might be useful for this part really to give some very concrete activities that will help us to achieve that aim. So it starts, I think, with improving the capacity and capability of our universities to have societal impact. So a big part of this will be offering training and opportunities for our students and our staff to engage in social impact. One example of that is we'll develop a EUniWell Doing student social entrepreneurship program, so to give our students opportunities to develop their social entrepreneurship skills. We'll also have a staff volunteering program so that our academics and our professional staff also have opportunities to develop their skills and experience of working for social impact. And as you've heard in the Rector's introduction, and was referred to just a moment ago, we have this huge asset as an alliance of over 100 associate partners from all 7 partner universities, so across the whole of Europe, that we can engage with to develop those programs. So that's the first part. The second part is what we call outside in, which is making EUniWell's research accessible to wider society and using our research to help shape public policy. And I think a really good example of that are policy commissions that we're going to set up. In fact, we've already initiated the first one, which is a policy commission on well-being in a COVID world. So this is where we bring all of the research strengths of the Alliance to bear on a really important and topical policy question. And we'll be doing that throughout the course of the Alliance. So we've started with the first one, well-being in a COVID world, and there'll be subsequent policy commissions. The third aspect of this is the flip side of that. So inside out, that was outside in, inside out is inviting people outside of our universities to become involved in the creation of our educational programs and research. And you've also already heard Georgia and Hester speak to that. Let me give one specific example of something in addition to what they've already mentioned, which is the annual Wellbeing Festival, where the idea is that we'll open up our campuses to our regional communities to raise awareness of the work that EUniWell is doing, but also bringing together local and international stakeholders, create new spaces for collaboration so that we can work together on the wellbeing agenda. And of course, that will give an opportunity to showcase best practice. And finally, we want to ensure at the end of all of this and throughout that we are actually making the difference that we want to make. So a big part of what we'll be doing is measuring, monitoring and evaluating the impact of all our initiatives so that we can ensure that we are indeed actually improving societal well-being.
Thank you so much for that answer. The next question is for Isabel. So well-being in all its dimension is of critical importance for our institutions, staff, and student bodies. So what are the key areas where EUniWell will seek to enhance well-being by leading institutional transformation?
Okay, thank you for this question, Rebecca. Well, we've targeted 4 distinct objectives we believe are key to a successful institutional transformation. And the first one of which is to make EUniWell the employer of the future. So that's ambitious, but what we intend to do is actually to put well-being at the core of our human resources policy. And one way of achieving this is to establish some human resources guidelines that will be shared by all 7 universities. And these guidelines will provide a common strategy to implement well-being ethics in recruitment, in working conditions or training. And they will also include a reward program for all members of staff. So that's for the first objective. The second one focuses on sustainability, which, as you may know, it's a fairly broad issue that encompasses individual well-being, social well-being, but also economic development and obviously environmental issues. So sustainability refers to a variety of challenges that we plan to address. And so that every student and every staff member will directly benefit from these improvements. So to give you a few examples in the area of social needs, we could mention health or quality education or gender equality. A third objective that we have focuses on entrepreneurship across all 7 universities, because, well, our students' employability is obviously essential to us. So the objective is to help them develop some professional expertise and skills. And so to this end, we are creating a platform, to give you one concrete example, so a platform where all internship offers will be accessible to all EUniWell students, so that every student will have access to a huge offer in a large variety of areas of the labor market. We're also going to create this platform including a startup program. And we also aim at creating a virtual entrepreneurial community. So I mentioned students a lot, but obviously this project also involves teachers and researchers, as well as private companies and cities. And finally, our fourth objective is open science, which is absolutely essential for any successful university. So open science is about sharing data. So the idea is that researchers and students and anybody from the general public, generally speaking, can have access to it. And the reason is that it's a huge leverage for, in order to ease collaborations, to foster high quality research, to spread results, and as a consequence, to reinforce the visibility of our research and projects and achievements worldwide. So we aim at this at fair research, that is to say, research which is easy to find, to access, to interoperate, and to reuse. So it's the idea of creating this data landscape accessible to all, because data, research, science are a common good. So these are the 4 objectives that we've set to successfully achieve our institutional transformation, to be the employer of the future, sustainability, entrepreneurship, and open science. So I hope I've answered your broad question.
Thank you, Isabel. That was really interesting. The next question goes to Ann-Charlotte, to Sweden, and it's separated again into 2 different questions. So we all know EUniWell is made out of 7 universities. How will EUniWell manage to merge and to marry these different universities to create a common identity among students as well as staff? And the second part of the question is, how will students and staff across the 7 universities feel part of this shared institution?
Well, it's always a difficult question, how you change culture and how you foster an identity. We believe that we will still be 7 different institutions, but we will work together as one common institution. And I think that the launch day here today is one of the first examples of how we can work together. It takes a long time to change culture, and this is not a short initiative. It spans over a period of at least 10 years, and maybe, I hope, even longer than that. And that is what it takes to foster a common way of working together. And you can hear from the other, my fellow colleagues, all of the different initiatives that we plan to do together in order for us to start being a EUniWell university. We plan to work in 2 directions. One is the mobility part. We were planning to do a lot of physical mobility activities and particularly concentrate that on the students, the staff, and the researchers. COVID has changed our plans a bit, and you also see the challenges that we have to go to a more virtual mobility. But this is also an advantage because it makes mobility in the digital form much more accessible to everybody. And we see that we have been able to get engagement from other groups that were more limited to traveling. There will be a lot of difficulties on the national barriers, administrative barriers, and that is where we would have to concentrate some of our activities in identifying and also working together with other university alliances to look at the national barriers that we have for mobility. We would like to see that a student at any of our campuses will feel welcome, will feel at home in each of the university campuses. And I mean, just by having the opportunity of logging on to the same internet connections is of course a way of making us feel much more welcome and accessible. So we will also work together to share resources and perhaps also set up common activities and identities. We will work to have the same student ID cards, for example, the same student enrollment procedures, that we will make it possible for students to take part in classes, the micro-credentials that Giorgio was talking about, the different type of PhD schools that we were thinking about setting up. And also for our staff, we think that this is going to foster much more collaborative efforts, and also by using our diversities, we can become better together, and we could also make us more welcome and perform it to a greater extent. That then links into the things that becoming an employer for the future that Isabel was talking about. So it all fits together. So mobility is a big thing. But we also need to work with creating this identity by different type of events. This is one of the events that we will be hosting on the virtual platforms, but we hope that we will be able to meet in the future. We have already had hackathons. We have had opportunities where students have been meeting together, working on different problem solvings. And we hope that that is going to be something that we can use much more in the future. We will use pop-up universities. We are planning to do event platforms. We're planning to do mobility platforms for staying 7 days in one of your partners, working together for 7 weeks, or working together for 7 months. So we have a long list of initiatives that we plan to undertake in the next few years.
Thank you very much for that answer. So for our last question before the Q&A is for Miklos, and it is, so EUniWell is officially 17 days old and a year in the making. And what have you learned from developing the network together so rapidly across academic systems, languages, cultures, and now COVID as well? What are your key takeaways so far?
Thank you very much, Rebecca. Let me begin with a personal account. In the middle of January 2020, just about 10 months ago, in Cologne, Germany, I had the opportunity to participate in a meeting of the leaders and administrators of 7 prime European universities, which has led to the establishment of a quite unique consortium, which is now known as EUniWell. I met quite remarkable individuals, very talented, intelligent, and highly motivated people. Some of them actually visited me later in Budapest. With the most, however, we met and conversed online. Even though we are a diverse group coming from different countries and cultures, there was something that connected us. In some aspects, we shared a common vision and ambition, and we spoke a common language. So the first takeaway, for me at least, is highly efficient communication. In the 1 year plus the 17 days behind us, the initial interactions evolved into well-structured and regular communication sessions with a weekly rhythm. Although we all miss the personal contact, and I'm sure the lengthy Zoom sessions were sometimes an annoyance, the patience, the professionalism, the perseverance, and the dedication that the participants radiated came across even through the digital interfaces. Along the way, we became proficient in utilizing the benefits of this digital world and put it to the best use. Thus, even though we are a group of 7 distinct and different universities from across far reaches of Europe, the power of good communication essentially brought us together into kind of a family. I anticipate that this efficient communication will be the mortar holding us together on the path towards establishing our goals. The second takeaway I need to mention here is a novel governance mechanism we envisioned for the European University of the future, which emerged through our discussions. We called it co-creational governance, which refers to a balance between the key university stakeholders, the students, instructors, researchers, clinicians, administrators, and the leaders in decision-making. The close cooperation and lively dialogue between the Vice-Rectorial Steering Committee and the Student Board is a manifestation of this effort. We at Semmelweis University know very well the power of this effort. Having a truly international student body arriving from more than 70 different countries and curricula taught in 3 different languages, Hungarian, German, and English, we are a testimony to the need and benefit of co-creational governance structures. I anticipate that the diverse student body associated with our universities will be an ambassador of this new approach, and with that of well-being and EUniWell. The third takeaway I'd like to note here is our accelerated transformation towards the digital world, which I already alluded to. It was not much after our alliance has formed in March earlier this year that Europe has nearly ground to a halt. The only means of communication that remained was via novel digital technologies. In no time, EUniWell's member universities have managed to bring about a smooth transition from the traditional communication channels into digital ones, and we have successfully adapted to the new methodologies. Given the strict restrictions introduced in all member states, online space has become the main venue for coordinating the alliance's development. Thanks to the efficient communication, coordination, and the exchange of good practices among member universities, the European University for Wellbeing has emerged from the laying of its foundation to its official opening in only 1 year, which is today. And finally, the coronavirus pandemic has brought particular attention and urgency to the issue of well-being, which is at the core of EUniWell's mission. Regardless of geographic, economic, societal, and cultural differences, the COVID pandemic underlines the importance of the preservation and improvement of the quality of life for European citizens. To achieve this, it is essential to redraw the often rigid cultural boundaries and sensitize ourselves to multiple perspectives. Being a health and medicine-oriented community and the intellectual descendants of Ignaz Semmelweis, we actually established the importance of hand washing, which we practice every day today, every minute almost. We at Semmelweis University are particularly sensitive to issues related to the physical, mental, and societal well-being. With that, I'd like to draw particular attention to our PhD student Imola Sándor and Professor Beata Pasti, who later today will address the topics of mental hygiene and psychological challenges, respectively. The EUniWell Alliance, which evolved in front of my eyes in the past year, with its structure, mission, and objectives, geared up towards pressing multi-level well-being concerns, is, I'm sure, destined to successfully reshape the European cultural horizon. We are privileged to be part of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Miklos. So now we are taking questions from the audience. So if you have any questions, make sure you post them in the Q&A session. If you want to address that question to a specific person, you can also just write that down. And having this in mind, I'll hand over to Rebecca now with the first question.
Yes, so for our first question, we have someone saying that the platform for internship is of great interest for engineering students. So who will look after this platform and how is it going to work? And we thought maybe Isabel wanted to answer.
Okay, I'm going to try and answer. So the the objective is to have this common platform will be monitored by a central by one team in EUniWell that we are going to set up. But the idea is really for any university having an internship offer to be able to to post it automatically on the platform for any student to have access to it. So the operation thing is something that is going to be dealt with later, but obviously it's probably going to be something central in one university that will operate this platform.
Thank you so much, Isabel. The next question is that it is great that students are going to have a central role in shaping the development and research education. And the question that is connected to it is if EUniWell is planning to develop something like a cross-cultural platform where a group can exchange ideas and perspectives and knowledge and experience. And if that is the case, who would take part in this? And maybe Anne-Charlotte, you would want to answer. Oops, you are still muted, Anne-Charlotte.
Can you rephrase? Can you ask the question again?
Yes, sure. The question is that it is great that students have such a central role in shaping EUniWell. And the question is if there is the plan to develop something like a cross-cultural platform between the universities where students can exchange ideas and perspective, maybe share knowledge. And if that is the case, the question would be who would take part in it?
Such a platform is on the way, and this kind of activities is something that is key for the engagement of the students. We hope that many of the students will take part in this kind of activities, because this kind is what we refer to, for example, as the hackathons, where we would work together on different type of questions, different kind of wicked problems. We will also have activities or courses, or you can say shorter sessions related to intercultural communication and also to how you interact with both language issues, but also cultural initiatives. So we hope that the students can engage both through the student platforms and also through the different type of educational platforms, so that we can use these common tools as something that can be accessed from many different points. And that links also a bit further on to what Georgia was talking about when it comes to how we can create, for example, the teachers for the future. Because if we give them the right tools, we can use this all over a lot of different activities.
Thank you, Anne-Charlotte. And I think, Robin, you wanted to add something to that as well.
Judy, thanks. Actually, it was, I wondered if we could just briefly return to the question about internships, if that's all right. Because what I wanted to add to Isabel's very good answer is that, of course, each university has its own internship program and scheme. What we want to do is work together, though, to get something which is very distinctive for EUniWell. And a few thoughts on that. First of all, you might be used to thinking about internships in your own country, but now you've got an alliance that spans 7 countries that opens up opportunities. We've got all of the associate partners in the alliance, which also provides further opportunities. And of course, the distinctive thing for EUniWell is internships with well-being as the focus. We've already got an entrepreneurial working group that's been working to develop a lot of the program ideas. So we've already got a real community of interest in the alliance. But I guess to open it up and offer, if people are interested in engaging and helping to shape that program, that invitation is very much there. So it isn't kind of sealed off. If somebody is really interested in how we can have an internship, an entrepreneurial program based on well-being, we'd love to involve you in the working groups to shape that over the life of the Alliance.
Thank you very much for elaborating a little bit on that. So for the next question we have, can you please elaborate a bit more on the challenges that COVID brings? And we thought maybe Georgia wanted to answer this question.
Thanks, Rebecca. Of course, COVID has challenged many aspects of our life, the normal life, but the main connected to our project is, first of all, is health, and second is mobility. These are 2 core issues in our project. And of course, I cannot speak about COVID overall, but as far as health is concerned, for instance, in terms of what we can do to address this challenge, there are 2 aspects. One is something that Miklos has already mentioned, which is the mental health, and to have groups of researchers and students, questionnaires on whether their mental health has been affected, and research on the mental health of researcher, early researcher, PhD, and so on and so forth. Otherwise, for the more general health, something that we thought of is to have a platform for online visit for the patient, which are not non-COVID or not very, well, that may otherwise go to the emergencies in the hospital and may feel the emergencies, but they can be cured at home. So we can have a platform for this kind of visits, which are for some of the patient, and that can be a practical contribution to the of EUniWell to the COVID. Another thing is mobility, and I think Anne-Charlotte mentioned it before. Of course, the physical mobility has been affected a lot, and we were thinking of physical mobility when we wrote the project in the first place, because we actually submitted the project when the first cases of COVID were arriving to Europe. So we were physically moving ourselves. And mobility now has to be rethought. And we thought a lot about the virtual mobility, as Anne-Charlotte mentioned, the different forms. But what I think is very important in this kind of mobility is one thing that both me and Charlotte mentioned, which is it enlarge the number of students that can actually be mobile in a virtual way. People that would not travel otherwise, that were not really open to an internationalization experience, now can be taken into this trip, into this learning experience, and I think that will be very important. So I think the main challenge for our project are these. There are many others, and maybe other people want to intervene on that. But on these, I think we have some examples of solutions which could be important.
Thank you so much, Georgia. We have the next question from Linnaeus University, which is going to Beatrix Busse. The question is, how are we going to make the most of joint quality assurance and development of education? Can the partners in EUniWell be regarded as external auditors in any respect a couple of years from now?
Well, I start with the second part of this question. I love the idea of EUniWell participants, EUniWell members being external auditors in a couple of years from now. I think that's a brilliant idea, and that's something we should be working on as quickly as possible. I know that with regard to the European level, there's a lot going on already so that we can actually reach accreditation faster, that we can, that we don't meet all these legal barriers that are currently existing. So yes, I'd love to do this. And I think that's one of our core main aims, especially in one of the work packages which Georgia has presented. And also that's part of what we have to do. So it's quality assurance of the project, but also of study programs we are going to implement. And I think it's the core idea. To what extent then digital ways of how we do this will contribute to this, we'll see. But I think it's an excellent idea. So yes.
Thank you very much for that answer. Next, we have a question on how do people, or how can people get involved in the project? And we thought maybe Hester wanted to answer.
Yes, well, it's great to hear that more people want to be involved. So I think it's crucial also for the success of EUniWell that we extend the involvement inside our universities, and of course actively interact with all the stakeholders and partners that are part of our EUniWell consortium. I think the easiest way is to contact the Köln office, because they are coordinating the whole project. If you're interested in joining the research arenas, you can also contact me. So either Köln or us for the research arenas, and we will direct you to the right people. And thanks for the interest.
Thank you so much, Hester. The next question is regarding sustainable travel methods and how that can be promoted. And Georgia, maybe you want to elaborate on that?
Of course, we will be in favor of having sustainable travel. And already the students, which when they came to the physical meetings, have been all doing some sustainable travel. They came to Birmingham by train rather than by plane, exactly in order to keep emissions. So I think this is a really important question. How can we do it on a more regular basis? Of course, we will recommend the use of sustainable means, but there are two other things that can be done. One can be that universities, when they reimburse the tickets, for instance, they always pay the carbon tax. That is something which now is not done, but I think it's very, very important that in the reimbursement, the carbon tax is included. Another thing which I found very interesting is that when we have people going in Erasmus, they can volunteer to do some volunteer work for NGOs which are environmental friendly, for instance, to plant trees or something like that. So I think we should think of some of these innovative ways of having sustainable travel on top of course, recommending the use of more sustainable means of transportation. And I think that's important. It's crucial for EUniWell to be sustainable.
Thank you. So a last question we want to ask to Miklos is, what is the role of language within the consortium, the EUniWell consortium?
Thank you very much. Language is one of the utmost importance. This is a channel of communication, which I already elaborated on. Communication is a central important avenue in between us in this consortium. As I mentioned, we have experience at Semmelweis University dealing with a very broad network of students. Students from more than 70 countries attend our university. So I think we have a certain level of experience dealing with this. Obviously, the common language currently is English in this consortium, which I think has evolved into the most efficient ways of dealing with our topics. So we continue along that. We have no reason to upturn the language selection of English. But nevertheless, communication is of utmost importance. With that, I'd like to also mention the way we communicate, and this is the digital technology. As you see, we are forced today to meet and launch this consortium via digital platform, instead of what we originally planned, meeting in person in Cologne. That was the original plan. But this is the way, I think, which will stay with us for a few months at least because of the COVID situation. So I think language and communication and the efficiency of addressing these issues will be a prime topic that we need to address throughout reaching our goal in EUniWell. Thank you.
Thank you, Miklos. And I know that Beatrix, as a linguist, probably wants to add something. And if you do that really briefly, we can give the last word to Hester before we have to say farewell here.
Yes, I can do that very quickly. So as a linguist, I'm speaking, very much in favor of multilingualism. So in that sense, that's what we are going to foster. English is the lingua franca we are currently using due to communication reasons, which Miklos has already mentioned, but rest assured that all the 7 languages which are part of our identity as well will be as fostered in such a way as is necessary and valid to all the languages. So rest assured, that's very important. And we know there is an issue and we'll address this. So no worries about this.
Yeah, I just wanted to say something similar as Beatrix, that multilingualism we see that as a richness, of course, as a challenge, but also something to foster. Also, one of the first seed funding calls that has been granted is focusing on multilingualism in the classroom. So we'll definitely make steps there.
Thank you so much, Hester. And yes, at this point, we are coming to our end. Thank you all for coming and visiting. As you know, this launch day is going throughout the entire day. So right after this, in 15 minutes, we have the launch of the student board, where you will see Rebecca and me again. We hope you are as excited about EUniWell as all of us are. And if you want to participate or see more about this day, you can go to our homepage, EUniWell.eu, where you can find the links to all the other webinars which are going to happen today. And yeah, thank you so much for coming today. And with having this in mind, I would say we can close here. Thank you so much.
Welcome to EUniWell, the European University for Wellbeing. Join us.